What's up guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be going over everything about Ayaka. Her kit, her best artifacts, her weapons, her team comps, we're going over all of it. If you don't already know, she's been a very hyped character ever since the beta test, which happened about a year ago, so it's finally nice to see that she's in game. My initial first thoughts about her is that she's definitely a very balanced character. She's not power creeping any of the top 3 from Liyue like Zhao, Ganyu, or Hu Tao. With that being said, her smooth animations and her very straightforward, simple kit makes her very easy and efficient to use as well as play. As you can see here, Ayaka has a special sprint similar to Mona's, although Ayaka's does have some special properties. Since Ayaka's sprint is cryo rather than hydro like Mona's, she can travel across water much easier. The first property is that when you're done sprinting, as you can see in this video, it applies cryo to nearby enemies. As for the second special property, once you're done getting out of a sprint, Ayaka transforms her sword into a cryo-infused sword, changing her auto-attack damage into cryo damage. And this is very good for Ayaka because it allows her to have 100% cryo uptime, meaning that you can basically keep cryo everywhere all the time. And this is her auto-attack. You can perform up to 5 rapid strikes. And if you hold the auto attack, you can perform a charged attack that consumes some stamina, but it also hits multiple targets and has some type of range. Ayaka's first passive talent lets her gain a 30% normal and charged attack damage bonus after using her elemental skill, Hyoka. Ayaka's skill is very straightforward. She just summons a snowflake around her that deals AoE cryo damage while launching enemies into the air. It has a cooldown of 10 seconds and it generates 4 particles, which is average for most characters. And keep in mind that this is the only way Ayaka can create particles or energy for her burst. And speaking of her burst, it's called Kamisato Art Sumetsu. Ayaka creates a blaze storm that continuously moves forward and deals cryo damage over time in a straight path. Once that same path comes to an end and all the damage is dealt, there's a last blow kind of mechanic that deals cryo damage to enemies in a larger area. And when that last blow mechanic hits an enemy, Ayaka restores 10 of her stamina and she gains an 18% cryo damage bonus for 10 seconds. The energy cost is 80, which is on the higher side, but it does make sense because Ayaka deals an insane amount of damage with this burst, and they had to balance her out somehow, making sure that she doesn't power creep the current 5 stars. There's an easy fix to this. You can just run another cryo character on your team to act as a battery. I'll explain this more in depth in the team comp section. Her best artifact sets as of now is the 4-piece Blaze Destroyer. Because Ayaka has 100% cryo uptime, she can really abuse this set. The 2-piece effect gives us a 15% cryo damage bonus, and the 4-piece effect, if your enemies are frozen, you gain 40% crit rate. Ayaka's constantly putting cryo out everywhere, so you just need a good hydro support that can create that frozen elemental reaction to get that 40% crit rate. So essentially, you just want to stack crit damage since you're going to have enough crit rate with this 4-piece artifact set. For artifact sets early game, I usually recommend for most DPS the 2-piece Berserker for the crit rate and the 2-piece Resolution of Sojourner or Braveheart for the attack percent. For your artifact stats, since you're running the 4-piece Blaze Destroyer, you want an attack percent timepiece. I don't recommend running energy recharge even if her burst cost is 80 since you will miss out on a lot of DPS potential. Instead, you can just run a cryo battery, which I glossed over above, but I will go more in depth talking about it in the party comp section. Regardless of being cryo, not running elemental mastery on Ayaka should be a no-brainer since this is a freeze comp and Ayaka's a sword user, meaning that she can't shatter. So yeah, running an attack percent main stat timepiece is definitely her best. And you're gonna run a cryo cup since you're gonna be constantly sprinting around, infusing your sword with cryo, trying to maintain that 100% cryo damage uptime. And on your circlet, you're going to definitely want to run crit damage since you're going to get more than enough crit rate from your Blaze Destroyer artifact set, as well as cryo resonance. As for weapons, all the 5 stars are good on Ayaka. The Mistsplitter's Reforged is her best in slot because of the crit damage, the high base attack, and the passive giving you elemental damage bonus. The Primordial Jade Cutter is also very good because of the attack percent you gain based off of your HP. And since you are getting a massive scaling of crit rate here, you really do want to focus on prioritizing crit damage in your artifacts. As for 4 stars, the Black Sword is very good. It gives you a normal and charged attack multiplier, which you do love to see on Ayaka. Since the main stat is crit rate, this again lets you focus completely on prioritizing crit damage in your artifacts, just like the Jade Cutter. The Blackcliff Sword and Royal Sword are also very good, You can buy them at the shop with your Master List Star Glitter. The Black Cliff is preferred because of its crit damage stat, but if you already bought the Royal Sword, it's very viable on Ayaka. And lastly, for the free-to-play players, the new craftable sword at Inazuma gives an attack percent boost, and it helps accommodate for her 80 energy cost with its passive. As usual, this weapon does get better with higher refinement, and I do like this one a lot, and I know this doesn't matter, but I like it because it looks like a katana and it matches her aesthetic. And lastly, we made it to the team comp section. Ayaka's playstyle is heavily reliant on perma-freeze team comps. We're gonna lock enemies in place with the frozen elemental reaction to get the most out of your burst damage. If you can make her burst hit the enemy for every tick, the damage multiplier at level 10 is 4300%. The first slot of this party will be her, the main DPS, the main damage dealer. And the second slot can go to any Hydra support. As of now, we have Mona, Xingqiu, and Barbara, although that could change with the future of Inazuma. I recommend Xingqiu since he was practically made for this, although Mona could also work since she has her taunt, but you just have to rotate around with your characters more often than if you had Xingqiu on your team. If Barbara is your only choice, keep in mind that she has a skill downtime of 15 seconds, and you will have a love-hate relationship with your spacebar because she applies Hydra onto your character, which makes it a nuisance against certain cryo enemies like the Cryo Whopper Flower or Cryo Slimes. The third slot can go to any cryo battery like Diona, Rosaria, or Kaya. They can generate particles for Ayaka to catch and compensate for the 80 energy cost of her Sometsu burst. And since you have 2 cryo characters on your team, Ayaka and then your cryo battery, you also gain access to the cryo resonance, which further increases your crit rate by another 15%. I would recommend running Diona since with her kit, she heals, shields, and acts as a battery for Ayaka. This gives you more flexibility when you're picking your other party members. For your last slot, you can run any Anemo unit like the Traveler, Sucrose, Jean, or Kazuha to clump up enemies and shred their cryo resistance. Just make sure they're running the 4-piece Viridescent. Overall, Ayaka is a very balanced and consistent cryo DPS that can take advantage of the 4-piece Blizzard set very well because of her 100% cryo damage uptime. Her 80 energy cost can be easily worked around by running a cryo battery like Diona, Rosaria, or Kaya. I hope that this guide was helpful and you learned more about Ayaka's playstyle as well as how to build her more efficiently. I spent a lot of time trying to create this video, so I'd greatly appreciate if you could thumbs up and possibly subscribe to help me with the YouTube algorithm. I will catch you guys in my next video. See ya!